What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of My Counseling Corner. My name is Luke. I'm your counselor. And as you can probably tell, a little bit dressed down today, a little bit more casual. We're actually on our spring break right now, which means that we do not have students. However, teachers and counselors and principals are still reporting to do some professional development, some meetings that we have to get in over the year. So it's a little bit more casual. Okay, I don't often wear, hoodies and t-shirts and stuff while I'm at work, but I figured, if we got a day where there's no kids and I don't expect any phone calls and I'm not running around like a crazy person trying to get something done, I actually have a moment where I have some time, good time to make a video, right? Because in this profession, those chances come very rare. So I decided to go ahead and make another video. This will be the third installment to the channel, I believe, if you don't count that introduction video. But today we're going to be talking about WDEP. Okay, now this is something that isn't a specific theory. Okay, the last couple of videos I made were specific theories, talked about transactional analysis and using the PAC model, the lenses or ego states. We talked about RABET, which is also a theory or another approach to use in counseling. Today we're talking about the WDEP model, which is actually an approach or a model that comes out of the counseling theory known as choice theory. Now, choice theory was originally developed by William Glasser, and it's a very good theory. There's a lot of good stuff in his work. If you're interested, after watching this video, of going and learning more about the WDEP model or more about choice theory, he has a very good book. It's just titled Choice Theory, okay, by William Glasser. It's a very, very good read for those of you who are interested. It's a pretty easy read. It's not overly complicated. He does a pretty good job of speaking in layman's terms and explaining it on a level that pretty much everyone can understand. But like I said, if you're interested, you can go check out that book. Again, that's Choice Theory by William Glasser. But what we're talking about today is the WDEP model that comes out of choice theory. So before we get too much into it, just to give you a little bit of background about choice theory, or the WDEP model, I have a lot of success in using this in my practice. I use it quite often. It's something that I typically use as a frame for goal setting, which in counseling, a lot of times people find the further they go in a counseling, a counseling relationship, or the further they go in, the more sessions they have in a counseling setting, at some point it comes down to, we need to set some goals for you. Okay, that's a pretty common thing that we see a lot of in counseling. And this is one of the best frameworks that I have found to do that with. I think I mentioned in a previous video, perhaps the introduction video, that one of my passions is working with student athletes. So whether they be at the elementary, middle school, high school, or even the college level, that's something that I'm very passionate about, something I have some strong feelings for. Because for myself, when I was in my younger years, middle school, high school aged, that's something that I struggled with. I really, really struggled with performance anxiety. And I knew that I wasn't performing to the level that I was capable of in most of the sports I played. Which kind of is what led me down the path of, sport and exercise psychology as an undergrad, and then eventually led to my graduate program of counseling and leading me to get my certification, my license as a counselor. Which, just as a side note, okay, cliff note, I am so close to getting my license, and I'm super psyched about it. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to. That's actually going to be finally happening at the end of April, once you get all the paperwork submitted and do all the finalization. It's going to be good. Something I've been working towards for a long time, something I've been looking forward to for a long time. So I'm just throwing that out there. That has nothing to do with you guys in this video. I'm just, excited. So let's go ahead and jump in. So basically, I'm going to get my board, I guess, in here. WDEP, those are just, initials that stand for the specific words that we use, the terminology when we're using this type of approach. Well, actually, let me back up for 1 second and just say that as far as what I use this for, this is probably not an approach that I'm going to use if I'm working with a client or a student until we get much later, in our sessions or in our client-counselor relationship. Really, this is something that, you really, as a practitioner, as a counselor, you really need to understand where the client is coming from, and you really need to understand their world, their perspective, understand their feelings about certain things. Okay, so it's not something that you're just going to jump in and do like the very first session. This is something you're not going to do until you've really developed a good rapport and a good relationship with a client, because it is very practical and it's very pragmatic and it's very logic based and rational based. You want to make sure that the client is in a place where they can be rational and that you can have conversations with them where they're not stuck in their feelings and their emotions. Okay, so that's kind of like a primer to when you would use this, or at least this is just when I would use it. I would definitely want to make sure that I had a strong enough relationship with this person before we just jump to, oh, let's set some goals for you. Most of the times when people come in to see you, especially the first couple of times, they're not in a place where they're going to want, to be setting goals. They're looking for validation. They're looking for explanation. So once we get through all that, and if they stick with it, and more sessions go down the road, you can start doing something like this. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So the WDEP, I just make it very simple. I just draw it down the side like this. The W stands for want. Okay, so a question that you would ask, or the way you would pose this in a session, would be, what is it that you want? Or what is something that you want? Usually when clients are coming to you, it's because there's something going on in their life that they're not happy with, or something that they are wanting to change. There's something that they want. So before you can really start working towards that, you have to really define what that want is. Is there something you're doing that you want to change? Is there something that you want to feel differently about? Is there some skill or task that you want to get better at? What is it that you want? Okay, is what the W stands for. The D, I'm trying to write so that you all can see it at the same time. The D stands for doing. Okay, so for the client, what is it that you're currently doing to get what you want? Okay, so we've identified what the client wants. Help them think, what is it that you're currently doing to get what you want? Are you doing anything to get what you want? Sometimes the answer is, well, now that I think about it, I'm not really doing anything. I just kind of want it to happen. Okay, so what is a client doing, or what behaviors are they showing, or what choices are they making in order to get this? Okay, that's what this D, doing part, stands for. And a lot of times people get confused here. They may talk about things that they've done in the past or things that they've tried. Or they may try to say, well, here's something that I could do, but this is really, what are they currently doing? Okay, so right now, at this point in time, what are you currently doing to get what you want? Okay, so that's just a little clarifier for the doing. The E stands for evaluate. Okay, now again, depending on where you're at in your client-counselor relationship, this could be a very easy step, but it could also be a very difficult step if you don't have that good relationship with a client. You're going to evaluate, is what you're doing working to get what you want? Okay, so we're basically deciding if this is an effective strategy to get what you want, or is it an ineffective strategy? And the reason I say that this can be difficult if you don't have the good relationship, this is the part of the process where, as the counselor, you're going to do a lot of challenging of a client's self-talk, or a lot of challenging of their belief system, and maybe some challenging of their, maybe even some of their values. You're not really being challenging in a disrespectful way and telling them that they're wrong, but you really want to get them to try to think, is what I'm doing effective? Is it really working to get me what I want? And if it's not, as the counselor, we have to really ask some difficult questions and ask some deep questions to get the client to think on a deeper level about, their belief system, and kind of maybe change some of the ways that they've been trained to think, if that makes sense. So that's what evaluate is. Now, the last one is plan. Okay, so depending on what you come up with here, if what I'm doing is not helping to get me what I want, if we've evaluated and if we've decided that that's the case, now we have to come up with a plan. And this is where really the meat and potatoes of the counseling session will happen. Okay? And again, a lot of this is based off of having that good rapport, having that good relationship with the client, and really being able to understand their perspective and get in their world and really know what they're feeling and what they're thinking, and being able to work with them well. Okay, the plan is something that is going to take up most of this time. Okay, it's easy to tell someone what you want, and it's relatively easy to tell someone what you're doing to get what you want. Evaluate's a little bit trickier, but you can still do it in a relatively short amount of time. The plan is the part that's going to be where the counseling, the helpful part of counseling, the effective part of counseling actually happens. Okay, this is where you're really going to be working on what can we do, what can we change to make some of these other things line up correctly. Okay, so then, if you're doing your evaluation and you just decide that what you're doing is getting you what you want, then you can still come up with a plan. You don't have to just scrap this whole process. Maybe the plan is to do more of it. Maybe the plan is to do it at a certain time, or maybe to do it in a little bit of a different way. So they're getting what they want quick, faster, or in a better way. Okay, so that's the WDEP model. Okay, that's something that I would use, again, only after I've worked enough with the client to really understand their perspective and understand where they're coming from, and really getting into their world and knowing them as best as I can. I really like this approach. As you might be able to tell, I really enjoy talking about it and explaining it. It's great for goal setting. It's great to use, in instances like sports and athletics. It's great to use in a workplace environment. It's okay to set like professional goals, or even to set personal goals. It's really good for that. Another thing that I really like about it is this approach can be very basic, and you can use it as something to be very broad. And if you're working with a client, if you see that they have a hard time of really seeing the big picture, this is a good way to train them or help them do that a little bit easier. So you maybe will come up with a goal setting strategy, and you'll use this WDEP model to try to get them to see the big picture. Because a lot of times we get so laser focused on individual specific things that we don't have the opportunity to take a step back and really consider everything that's going on around us. Or it could be the flip side of that. You may be working with a client and realize that they only think in terms of very broad, only use the broad spectrum and look at things on the big picture. Maybe they need a little bit more help of narrowing down their focus and identifying specific things that they want or specific things that they're doing. So you can use it in that respect too. So you can try to relate this to your own personal life by using either of those two examples. So for example, let's say you're working with someone that just is generally unhappy. Okay, so let's say it's very broad. Someone comes in and you've been talking with them or working with them, and they just keep, I'm just really not happy. I'm not satisfied. I don't really know what the problem is. Things seem to be going good, but for some reason I just have got this cloud hanging over me. I've got this weight on my shoulders, and I'm just not where I want to be. So you can use this approach to try to figure out, okay, what do you want? You want to figure out how you can be happier. You want to figure out how you can have a more fulfilling life, how you can find more satisfaction in the things that you're doing. That's the want. And then what are you currently doing? Well, I'm going to work, I'm going home, I'm trying to spend time with family, doing all these things. Okay, so those are the things you're doing. Evaluate. Is it working? Most of the time, the answer to that is going to be no. Because if it was working, chances are they wouldn't be coming to see a counselor, or they wouldn't be having such a problem with it. So most of the time, the answer is going to be no. So using that, if that's not working, let's come up with a plan. Maybe just going straight to home from work, back to home, back to work every day, maybe that's not the right plan. Maybe that's not what you need to do. Maybe we could interject something else in between those two things. Maybe you need to make a stop to the gym if you want to exercise, or maybe you need to spend some time doing a hobby or something you enjoy in between those things. Okay, so that could be a way to use it as something very broad, something very specific. Someone may say, when you ask someone what do they want, they may say, I want my, let's say, girlfriend or boyfriend to really listen to me when I'm telling them that I don't like when they leave a house a mess. Okay, so that might be an example of something more specific. So I really want my significant other, my partner, to understand where I'm coming from when I'm telling them that I don't like the house to be left a mess. I like it to be picked up. So that's an example of how you can use it in a very specific way. Or I really want my boss to be more receptive to the good things that I'm doing. I really want him or her to appreciate the things I'm doing at work. Okay, so those are some examples of some things that are more specific. And again, you go through those steps. You know, what do you want? What are you doing? Is what you're doing getting you what you want? If not, then we need to maybe change something and come up with a plan on how to get you what you want in a better way. So, like I said, there you go. That's the WDEP model. It's based out of choice theory. And again, if you're more interested in learning about either just WDEP or choice theory, check out William Glasser's work. Like I said, the book it's just Choice Theory is the name of the book. It's a very good book if it's something you want to learn more about. And other than that, that pretty much covers everything for this video. So this one wasn't quite as long as the last one, but still, I hope you guys were able to get something good out of it. Yeah, so hopefully we'll continue this progress, and we'll try to do one video a week until we get enough of them up. I don't know if I said it in my last video. I think I might have. I'm working on putting together a top 5 list, a series of top 5 videos, or videos of top 5 things that people can look at if they're interested in just quick random bursts of energy. I mean, everyone's always interested in learning top 5 this, top 5 foods for that, top 5 activities for blah blah blah. So I'm working on a new top 5 series, and I'm hoping to have that come out pretty soon. I've got a couple ideas in the works, but I want to make sure that when I get it started, that it's something good and it's something that it's actually going to be set up well and people are going to enjoy. So you can look forward to that. But other than that, I hope this was helpful for you guys. This is the end of the video, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a good day. Thanks.